Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Moore.
Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Now, I'm sure that many of us know a lot of people who have gone to a great deal of trouble, extra trouble, to get into college and get a college education, but I have never heard a story that even approaches the one of our first guest. He is an amazing young man from Africa. He is a tribesman, and you will find that his biography is so remarkable, especially in its perseverance and its planning. Now, we'll meet this young man as soon as we meet our persevering panel here on To Tell the Truth.
Tom Kennedy. Peggy Cass. Bill Cullen. And Kitty Carlisle.
I'm sure there's nobody in our audience who didn't in his day listen to his father say, why, when I was your age, I walked 3 miles to school through the snow in my bare feet over glass. And I told the same thing to my kids. We got a fella here with a story. Boy, let us meet our African tribesman.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Kofi Wayo.
Number 2.
My name is Kofi Wayo.
Number 3.
My name is Kofi Wayo.
And our job is to find out which one truly is Kofi Wayo, and here is his extraordinary story. I, Kofi Wayo, am from a small African village. In quest of a dream, I went on a 10,000-mile journey on foot. And here's why. One day I came across a copy of Ebony magazine. I then wrote a letter to an American whose name appeared in that magazine. I told him of my desire for an American education. He wrote back, sent me some books, and gave me encouragement. The urge to meet him grew strong, but he was in Turkey, a continent away. Nonetheless, at age 14, I set out to find him, hitchhiking across Africa and Europe, constantly on the verge of starvation, and often on the brink of death. 2.5 years later, I finally met my American pen pal. With his help, I came to the U.S. I have now graduated from college and someday will return to my native country to champion the cause, the unification of Africa and of freedom for all. Signed, Kofi Wayo. And we'll be back to get to the bottom of this absolutely fascinating story in about 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Now, we have 3 young men across here, all claiming to be Kofi Wayo, who hitchhiked from Africa to Turkey to meet a pen pal, who graduated from a U.S. college and is now seeking his master's degree. Let's start the question with Tom Kennedy, please.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Number 3, Mr. Wayo, who is your friend? Can you tell us?
Yeah, my friend is Wiley Jones.
And number 2, what college did you graduate from?
I graduated from Eastern Michigan University.
Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
Number 1, when you received this copy of Ebony magazine, evidently you could read English, right?
Yes, sir. I was from a fairly wealthy family.
I see.
So therefore, I had learned to read.
And at this number 3, at age 14, you started the trip. How old are you now?
28.
And number 2, what was your major at the college you mentioned?
I say my major was economics and political science.
Economics and political science. Number 1, where are you going now?
University of Detroit.
And number 3, when do you plan to go back to Africa?
In about 3.5 years.
3.5 years from now?
From now.
And why 3.5 years from now? You have more studies, right?
Yes, I'm going to go to England, then to Russia, and then into Pekin.
I see.
Boy, some future lying ahead of Peggy.
Number 2, where in Africa are you from?
From the Republic of Ghana in West Africa.
Thank you. Number 3, have you ever returned to Africa since you left it at all?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once.
Number 2, who is Monty Rubin?
Well, I've never heard about him.
Okay, that's good enough. Now, number one, if you hitchhiked from Ghana, if you went on foot, did you ever get any lifts, any rides?
When I was especially across the Sahara Desert, you have Bedouin tribes. And sometimes they would take you for 150 miles.
Well, number
And,
one, how did you get through the Sudan?
Sudan.
Yes.
Well, you have tribes who go there too. You know, from tribe to tribe.
And how long did it take you to get through the Sudan?
To get through it,
Yes.
maybe 2 months.
Thank you. And number three, how much time did you spend in North Africa?
I spent a total of 2.5 years.
In just North Africa?
Oh, you mean just in North Africa?
Yes.
6 months.
6 months. And did you live? Okay.
Thank you, Peggy. Bill Cullen coming up.
Number three, what was the reason for your having to hitchhike from your home to Turkey, I assume?
Well, I was running away from my parents. They wanted me to be a doctor, and I didn't want to be a doctor.
You didn't like the idea of being a doctor?
No.
Well,
They beat me for that.
Number three, I'll stay with you. You did have in your elementary schooling in your own country, you were educated in the English language, were you not?
No. I came to the city at times, and I picked up English.
You picked up the English after you left your homeland?
No. While I was there, I picked up a little, but after I left, I picked up more.
But no formal education in English?
No.
Remarkable. Number one, how about you? How did you learn your English, sir?
Well, like I said before, my parents were fairly wealthy.
Number one, if they were wealthy, why did you hitchhike?
Well,
I mean-
because I had some trouble with my parents. They insisted that I learn medicine.
Oh, that's 2 doctors we lost right there. Number two, how about your parents? Lost the third doctor.
And let me see. We're going to end with Kitty this time.
Number one, where are you, what country in Africa are you from?
Kepi.
What's that?
Kepi.
KP?
It's a region in Ghana.
And number three, what in this article attracted you so much that you decided to write to Wiley Jones?
Well, he was protesting something, which I don't want to talk about.
But something that you believed in?
Yes.
And sparked you?
Yeah.
Number one, what was the most dangerous thing that happened to you when you were on your hijira?
Dangerous. It's maybe everyday life across, you don't know what's coming tomorrow.
Thank you. Number one, it said that you were on the brink of death. What was the most dangerous thing that happened to you? Number two?
Oh, well, sometime something happens and such as starvation, and sometime you don't have food to eat, and things just don't work out right,
And number three, what did you live on when you went to college here?
I beg your pardon?
What were you living on? Were you earning money while you were going to school here?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Dishwashing.
And where? We forgot to find out where you went to school.
Hey, tough guys over there. I want to tell you, tough imposters. I wish I had a ballot. I don't have one, though. Neither do you. You got one inside your head. They'll mark theirs. You and I'll mark ours for number one, or number two, or number three. I think you know that we pay $50 for each wrong vote to our team, and we pay $500 if all of the votes are incorrect, and Tom Kennedy starts.
Yes, Gary, I'm going to go with number three because all of his answers were so affirmative. Everything is well laid out. He's a man of destiny, I felt.
So, you've got a 3 showing, and Peggy.
I think he's a man with a beautiful outfit on, but I don't think he's a man of destiny. And number one seems North African to me. I don't know why, but number two, I believe it. I don't know, I just really believe that he could make it. God, it must have been a very tough trip.
So, a 3 and a 2. Bill Cullen, how you going?
Yeah, the 3 gentlemen up there. Number two seemed to answer with, like he hadn't learned the answers or worked on them. He seemed to answer straight off the cuff, and for that reason I voted for number 2.
Pair of 2s and a 3, and Kitty?
Well, gee, I don't know. They were all wonderful. I voted for number 3 because I thought he had his future pretty well mapped out, too.
All righty. How's that sit with you out there? The votes are in. Well, the real Kofi Wayo, please stand up. There's Kofi in the middle. Thank you, Kofi. If you'll be seated, we'll talk to your friends. Number one, you lucked out. What is your real name, and what do you do, and where are you from?
My name is Jean-Philippe Kleska, and I'm a photographer from Haiti.
You are from Haiti. And number 3, boy, magnificent. What is your real name?
My name is Leonardo Roberts. My profession is professional table tennis. I'm on the U.S. team to the World Championship in Yugoslav, and I'm originally from Jamaica, West Indies.
Yeah, there. They're known how to know. Was the information that we got, I've forgotten who brought it out, that East Michigan is where you're going for your master's, Mr. Weil?
Yeah, I'm in Eastern Michigan. I'm getting my master's in April. Then I'm going to Yale. Then from there, I'm going to Peking. And then from Peking, I'm going back home to...
I was going to say, I hope you'll take the education that you gained back home.
Not all of it.
That's about as good an answer as you're going to get. Thank you very much, Kofi Wayo, and gentlemen, for being with us on To Tell the Truth. Now let's meet the man who wrote a book about death.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is David Hendon.
Number 2.
My name is David Hendon.
Number 3.
My name is David Hendon.
All right, I suggest we all listen carefully as I read the story of David Hendon. He says, I, David Hendon, believe that there is a great reluctance on the part of modern-day Americans to face the reality of death. Medical science has done wonders in prolonging the years of life. In 1900, life expectancy was 47 years. Today, it is 70. But in prolonging life, we have somehow made people more fearful of death. A terminal patient, for instance, is carefully not told of his condition. A child is informed that a dead parent has gone to live in the clouds. The dying patient is isolated from his family and friends in the last days of his life, and there are today bodies in deep freeze with the hope that medical science will bring them back to life. Sigmund Freud said, we have shown an unmistakable tendency to put death aside, to eliminate it from life. I have written a book dealing directly with the problems of death and the dying. I call it Death as a Fact of Life. Signed, David Hendon. And Bill Cullen, would you like to take this on first?
Yeah, I would, because it is very interesting, and everything stated here is absolutely true as far as I know. But number 2, you mentioned how we try to avoid the mention of death and everything. In your book, what do you purport that we do? I mean, what is your approach in the book?
Well, the book advocates death as a topic that should be brought up with children. When a funeral happens, a child should be present at the funeral if the parents deem it worthwhile for the child, and I feel it is.
Number 3, do you believe in a certain amount of preparation for death?
Yes, I think you should face death, as I said, as a fact of life. It's something that happens. Socrates said it's a cure for life, as a matter of fact.
Drastic, but true. Number 3, do you believe that all people should be told when they have a terminal illness, that all people should be told, or are there exceptions? Or staying with you, number 3, what are your feelings on that?
I think there may be exceptions if someone has a terrible morbid fear of death, but you'll find that most terminal patients are actually relieved to find out that they are dying. Most of them suspect it, and as a matter of fact, resent that they're not being told.
Number 1, did you interview people about how they felt about the fact that death was inevitable, and we all know it's inevitable, no matter how we try to dismiss it? Did you talk to people about it, and if so, what did you find?
I did, and I found that people live to die, not that living is necessarily all be preoccupied with dying, but people know they're going to die.
And we go, please, to Kitty.
Thank you. Number 3, people have been discovered living in the Andes who are 135 years old. So how do you equate, I don't think they're afraid of dying, how do you equate the longevity that we now can expect with the fear of dying?
Well, I think as people live longer and away from their families, they are more and more afraid of it. Death used to be a fairly common thing many years ago, and you used to see many generations pass. Now you're alone when you die, usually in a hospital in our society.
Number 1, you don't think it has something to do with the youth cult, that people are more afraid of dying now?
No, I think that they're more afraid to talk about it. I think when you get deep down into people, they're really not afraid of dying.
Thank you. Number two, is it people who won't make a will? Is that because they're afraid if they make a will they might die, and
That's
if they
very-
don't make a will they won't die?
That's very often
And it
the
just
case.
screws up everybody.
That's
That's a
very-
terrible thing. Number three, I'm not trying to trap you, but is there something called cryogenics?
Cryogenics is the science of freezing of tissues.
Oh,
There
I
is
see. That is
kind
the
of a
right
half
word.
science. Cryology is the true science.
What is cryology?
Cryology is the total science and the study of freezing of tissues. Cryogenics is the freezing of bodies.
Oh.
And Tom Kennedy.
Number one, it says here that there are many people, or not many, but there are some people in deep freeze now that medical science hopes to bring back. Do you have plans to engage in that experiment yourself?
Are you kidding? No.
Number two, when these people, if they were brought back, do they then, let's say that they win in at age 47, when they come out, then do they start from that age and go on, and are they expected to live longer then, or what?
Well, presumably they come back at age 47, and the reason that most people enter cryonics, or the frozen state, is they hope that cures will be developed for whatever diseases they have.
Right. But number three, supposing when they do come back, then they're exposed to other germs maybe that were not existent when they went under.
That's true. That's the third problem. The first problem is getting them back. The second is curing them of what they had. And the third problem is what you pointed out.
Well, you got problems.
Not only that, you're likely to miss a lot of movies. Peggy?
Number two, I have a feeling that if they sort of boiled you back, whatever they're going to do after you're frozen like peas or something, that a lot of people wouldn't want to be your friend because you would have been dead and everything. Don't you think?
I find it very hard to react to that, but
Oh.
you may be right.
You mean, well, I don't know. If somebody had been in the cooler about 100 years and came out and wanted to come to my party, I might think twice. Now, number three, to be serious, do you think people, unless they're in great pain, do you think that most people really want to die? Because if they do, boy, am I in a minority. I think it's great around here.
Most people don't want to die, but when you get someone with a terminal illness and great pain, they would rather go than be prolonged by these machines or...
Well, number three, you pointed out Socrates, but if I don't think people live so long, then he did get to be 70. I'd settle for that.
Okay.
All right? Yeah.
There goes the bell, and we must now vote about what we think about this situation. Do you think it's number one, or do you think it's number two, or do you think it's number three? Bill Cullen has already made up his mind.
I like the whole, I mean, I don't like, the whole thing brought to light the cryonics and everything, and I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Cryonics a good idea.
You wouldn't want to be frozen up like that.
I see the time coming when I go to that big bird's eye up in the sky. And until such time as that, I voted for number three.
You know, you may have just come up with a marvelous show for George Plimpton. He'll try anything once.
Short run.
We got a three going there, and we're going to Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I voted for number three because I have to believe that a man who writes on this subject must have humor about it. Otherwise, it would be too sad and too morbid, and I think number three has humor.
Pair of threes. We're going down to Tom.
Yeah. Number three, I don't know why, just generally speaking, he impressed me.
Hey, getting frozen into number three here. Peg, where are you going to go?
I'm not going to go with number three.
No?
I thought that the most healthy attitude toward death over there is number one. He's just going to go on the old compost heap like me. I voted for him.
All right, the votes are in. Will the real David Hendon please, sir, stand up? Peg. Great job, gentlemen, all around. Let's check out Mr. Hendon and see who your friends are. Number two, what is your real name? What do you do?
My name is John Hawkins, and I'm so far a very healthy advertising executive in New York.
May you so continue. Number three, you almost stole the whole apples here. What is your real name? What do you do?
My name is Michael Markovsky. I'm assistant to the executive vice president of WPIX here in New York.
David Hendon, we only have a few seconds left, but tell me that anecdote you told me before the story about a parent who said, I think it was the mother who, when the father died, said that the God...
Right.
How did it go?
The one of the parents died. It was the father, and the mother was telling the child wanted to know what happened. The mother told the child that God reached down from heaven and took Daddy up to heaven. And from that day forward, the child refused to go outside into the sunlight and refused to leave the shadow of trees and didn't want to go out of the house because he was afraid that this horrible thing called God would reach down and get him too. So this is one of the things we have to watch when we're talking to children. We have to tell them the truth.
In their own terms.
In their own terms, in language they
Thank
can
you,
understand.
David Hendon. It's a very valuable book. And thank you, gentlemen, also for being here. Tell you one thing about this book. What's it called, Peggy? Death is a Fact of Life. It's got us buzzing here.
Yeah.
That's right.
I guess
Yeah.
it's going to have a wide circulation. Thanks for being with us, friends, very much.
This is Bill Wendell speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Dixon, Bill Tuck production.